Okay, we are now recording. Um, the purpose for tonight's meeting is to go over the new Indiana Diploma for the class of 2029, which is our current ninth graders and beyond. So if you have a student in middle school or in ninth grade, this diploma is going to be what the students are graduating with. Right now, it goes by the new Indiana Diploma or Diploma 42. So they're kind of interchangeable right now between the state and schools. So when you hear new diploma or Diploma 42, it is the diploma that the class of 2029 and beyond is graduating with. So tonight, it's not going to take super long. We're probably going to be about 20 to 30 minutes. We're going to go over the new diploma requirements, the new seals that go with the diploma. There's going to be talking about the pathway options. We'll look at the Indiana College Core and dual credit, what that means if students are taking those classes in high school. The new diploma has a lot of talk around work-based learning. So I'm going to talk about what work-based learning is and how to start tracking those hours. And then we'll have a time for questions at the end. So starting with the new diploma and credit requirements and how things have changed. Anyone who was in the class of 2028 or before was graduating on the Indiana Core 40 diploma. 2029 is the new diploma, which is the Diploma 42. I have a sophomore, so I have a student myself who's in the last graduating class of the Core 40, and then my daughter is a freshman, so she is in the brand new diploma requirement for the Diploma 42. So I am right there with parents trying to figure out the new diploma, not only with my job, but for my daughter for her graduation. So with the credits that you need for the Diploma 42, the first is English. Of those 42 credits, 8 need to be English. 2 of those must be English 9-1 and 9-2, which our ninth graders are already in. One of those classes, and this is one of the big switches for English for the new diploma, one of those classes has to be a communication-focused credit. So right now, that would be a speech class, an advanced English college credit that focuses on a speech component, or there's an intro to communications course. We do not currently have intro to communications. We are hoping to have that up and running next school year or the year after. But as of right now, if students are staying with Achieve, they need to know that for this diploma, one of those classes they're going to be taking is going to be a communications-focused credit. And then the 5 additional credits are going to be a mix and match of whatever the student would like. So in the past, it was English 10, English 11, and English 12. Students can still keep those English credits, or they can mix and match between our AP classes. We'll have some dual credit English classes, or we've got some English electives that will also count for those 8, which could be creative writing, etymology, or some of the other elective classes that we have. With the Diploma 42, math now requires 7 credits. In the past, students had to do Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry, and those are still part of the 7 credits the students are going to use to graduate, but they have added in that all students from the class of 2029 and beyond, they also need to take personal financial responsibility. So for your 7 math credits, 2 of them have to be in Algebra 1-1 and 1-2. 1 will have to be in personal finance, and then 4 additional math credits can be in any combination of the courses that are listed there. Most students will probably be taking Geometry 1 and 2 and Algebra 2-1 and 2-2 to fulfill those credits. Another change is instead of just needing science credits to graduate, they've changed it to science, tech, and engineering, and you're going to need 7 credits in the science, tech, and engineering, the STEM field. 2 credits for biology 1-1 and 1-2. You're going to need 1 credit in the computer foundations of the digital age. And then you will need 2 additional lab science credits, which we offer earth space, integrated chemistry physics. So we'll have your typical offerings for those 2 additional lab science credits. And then you need 2 additional STEM or science courses. So with the online platform of Achieve, most likely you would just pick from that above science credit option. Or if our Achieve student is going to Area 31 with Ben Davis, the Career Center, those courses typically have a STEM science attached to them. So if that's the case and they were attending Area 31, those 2 additional science credits could come from Area 31. And then for social studies, you only need 5 credits for the core 40, or sorry, the new Indiana Diploma 42. So you would have 2 credits in either geography, history of the world, or world history, which most of our freshmen are in right now. You would need 2 credits in US history and 1 credit in government. And then to make up those 42 credits, you would need at least 1 additional credit of PE, 1 credit in health. You would need 1 credit for preparing for college and careers. And then you would have 12 additional personalized electives that you would get to take. Those can be in an academic course. They can be through Area 31, the Career Center. They could be classes that the student enjoys. It could be classes to help them figure out what they want to do. But the state really wants students to take these extra electives in something that is going to work towards what they call the diploma seals. So I'm going to go to the next slide so I can start to explain what these diploma seals are. So with the old Core 40, students graduate with the Core 40 and graduation pathways. The state recognized that there were multiple ways and multiple paths for students to earn their high school diploma. To expand on that, they have added in honors and honors plus seals with the new Indiana Diploma. And basically, that's going to let the students pick even further and take a path more individualized than the Core 40 let them. So these seals would be in employment, enrollment, or enlistment. So with the seals, what does that mean? If students are going for the seals, the first level is an honor seal. So there's an enrollment, an employment, and an enlistment seal that students could get for honors. And that would be on their diploma when they graduate. It would show new Indiana Diploma, and then it would have a seal that would say whether it's enrollment, employment, or enlistment. If you are working for enrollment, that is very similar to what the Core 40 had for the academic honors diploma. There'll be additional coursework, and I will go into detail about that on the next couple slides. If you're looking at the employment honors seal, most likely you would be doing the Area 31 coursework or a career technical pathway. And then if you're doing enlistment, this is a seal that you would have to take the ASVAB test, which is a career aptitude test given through the military. And then you would have had to take the JROTC or a public service course. I will go into that in a little bit. Just know that right now, the way the state has written the enlistment seal, because we do not offer JROTC or a public service course, we still don't have a way to get the enlistment seal from the options that are available with Achieve. And then the step above these is called the Honors Plus Seals. This is going to have all the requirements of the honor seals and then some additional requirements. So why would students work towards the honors plus seals? The state is trying to make partnerships with different organizations throughout the state to reward students for working towards the honors plus. So for example, if you complete the enrollment honors plus seal, the state has said you will have automatic acceptance into Indiana schools. What I want to stress about this is the class of 2029 is the first graduating class. The colleges still don't know exactly how that's going to translate into direct admissions. So if you graduate with Enrollment Honors Plus, you would be admitted into the colleges in Indiana. However, it does not necessarily mean right now that you would get your preferred campus or your preferred major. So if you are a student who's looking at Purdue Engineering at West Lafayette, if you have the Enrollment Honors Plus, the state's saying you will be admitted to Purdue University. The colleges just haven't laid out for us yet if that means direct admission into the campus that you want, the major that you want, but you would be direct admit and then you would be able to go into a program there. It just might not be your preferred program. The Employment Honors Plus seal would allow for direct admission into, right now, the Central Midwest Carpenters Union. They are looking at adding other union and apprenticeship programs on, but right now, if you graduate with the Employment Honors Plus, you would be directly admitted into the Carpenters Union. And then if you did the Enlistment Honors Plus seal, you would be qualified to join the National Guard or other branches of the military upon completion. So I wanted to start with the enlistment seal. And the reason I'm going to start with this is I don't want to spend too much time on the seal right now because it is not currently one that students can graduate with if they earn their diploma from Achieve and have not attended anywhere else. Because this seal requires a completed full year of JROTC or Intro to Public Services, that is not currently an online course that students can take. The state is looking at approved equivalent courses. They haven't determined what those are yet. Because this is so new, we are constantly getting updates from the state and explaining things and giving us new courses that we can use. So as soon as we get any information about what those other courses are, we will definitely let the families know. But if you had a year of ROTC, you would then take that ASVAB test if you got a score of a 31 or higher, and then you completed what's called the Career Exploration Program. With the ASVAB, you get a score, and then it allows you to do a career exploration program where you input your scores and it helps match up careers. So to do the enlistment seal, you'd have to take the ASVAB and complete that career portion. You'd have a year where your attendance has no more than 3 unexcused absences, and you'd need to demonstrate work ethic. To get that higher seal, which is the Honors Plus, you'd have to do all of the above. Instead of a 31, you'd need to get a 50 on the ASVAB. And then the additional requirement here is that you would have to apply and be accepted to an ROTC program at the college level. You would also then need to meet one of the following. You'd either need 100 hours of public service, a leadership role in an extracurricular activity, and completion of 2 seasons on a team-based sport or activity. So then let's look at the employment seal because this is a spot that we have availability at Achieve to earn both of these. With this webinar, when I sent out the parent square, I did attach the SEALs, Honors, and Honors Plus, the ways you could get those at Achieve. So I know I'm going over this information very quickly in the webinar, but when you look at those attached documents, it's going to show if you're looking for the employment seal, all of the steps and all of the options we have with Achieve Virtual to get this seal. So first, the Honors Seal. That's going to require the completion of a career pathway or a locally approved pathway, and I will talk about those in just a minute. It's also going to require 150 hours of work-based learning. Work-based learning can be paid or unpaid experiences, and they can be through the school or not through the school. I have a whole slide about work-based learning, but just know for this seal, you need 150 hours. You need to demonstrate work ethic, which again, I don't think it's going to be a very time-consuming thing that you're going to have to do for this, but the state hasn't told us exactly what that looks like yet. And then you'll need to meet that attendance goal where you have 1 school year throughout high school where you have no more than 3 unexcused absences. The Employment Honors Plus seal means you need to get all of the above plus a market-driven credential of value. The state has not let us know what all of these credential values are going to be, but we know for a fact that you can do the Indiana College Core Diploma, which we do offer, or an advanced industry certificate, which is most likely if you live local to us and you're able to do Area 31 Career Center, it would be doing one of the Career Center programs for your junior or senior year. In addition to the 150 hours of work-based learning you would need 500 additional for a total of 650 hours of work-based learning. And then you'd also need to demonstrate that skill development and communication, collaboration, and work ethic. And then let's look at the Enrollment Honors Seal. So the first stage of the seal, the honors level, is very similar to the Academic Honors Diploma that we have in place for the upperclassmen right now. There will be an additional academic requirement, which is 4 credits in the same world language. So it would be 2 years of Spanish, 2 years of French, or 2 years of German. You would need 1 additional credit in social studies. Right now, that is econ. They might release different options that are available for students. Instead of the 7 credits in math, you need 8 credits in math. And then the main difference for science for this diploma is you need a full year of biology, you need a full year of chemistry, and then the third option is either physics or one of those other lab sciences. This diploma requires the biology and chemistry, and then you can choose that third level course. All of your grades that you take for this need to be a C or higher, and your cumulative GPA at the end of high school needs to be a 3.0 or higher, which is your B average. Sorry, all of your courses must have a C minus or higher, and then your GPA needs to be that 3.0 at the end of all 4 years. In addition to that, you need to do one of the following, and this is exactly what the students on the academic honors are doing with the Core 40 right now. You would either need to earn 4 credits in AP courses and take the corresponding exams, and I'll go over AP and what that means in just a few minutes. You would need to earn 6 college credits, which is the equivalent of basically 2 classes that are dual credit in high school. Or you could score a certain score on the SAT or ACT, or mix and match your AP and dual credit courses. And then finally, the enrollment honors plus seal. Again, this is the one that if students graduate with the seal, the state of Indiana is saying this would be a direct admit into Indiana colleges. This would be all the previous requirements that we just talked about, and then you would need to earn a credential of value from an approved list. This list is constantly being updated, but right now Achieve offers 2 options. We have the Indiana College Core Diploma, and I will go over that in just a minute, or there's an AP Scholar with Distinction. AP is an advanced level course. So for example, we offer AP Psychology. We have regular psychology, AP Psychology. AP Psychology is advanced placement, and we are following a curriculum set by College Board. College Board gives us what the teachers should be teaching. The teachers make their course content around what College Board wants in this course. And when the students finish that course, they will take an AP test. That test is scored on a 1 through a 5. A 3, 4, or a 5 on an AP test is basically the equivalent of college credit. Your college is either going to give you credit for that class, or they're going to say you've met the requirements and you don't need to take that class in college. So if you were taking AP Psychology and got a 3, 4, or a 5, you would either get that on your college transcript, or the college would say you've met the psychology requirement for your intro to psych requirement for your college major. One of the things to know with the AP Scholar with Distinction, you do not get your scores until July. So if you're planning the Enrollment Honors Plus Diploma and your AP classes are your senior year, you aren't going to know if you're an AP Scholar with Distinction until the summer after you graduate. We are still waiting for word from the state with how they will take into account this information with how we report the seals to the colleges. But just know, if we're looking at the AP Scholar with Distinction, you probably want to try to get some AP classes in your sophomore and junior year so you can have that on your record before senior year. Also, you'll need to take 75 hours of work-based learning and then do the demonstrate skill development and communication, collaboration, and work ethic. I don't think that's going to be a hard task to do, but again, we haven't heard directly from the state how we track that and how we have students submit that they have done this. And then what is dual credit? So dual credit is a class that is the same for high school and college, and it is going to give you high school credit and college credit. So for example, one of them that I have here is US History 1. All students need to take US History. So they can sign up for our dual credit History 139, and they will earn high school credit towards US History 1. They would also have started on their college coursework and have 3 college hours for History 139 at the college level. So dual credit is a course that you take online with us in high school that's completing a high school diploma requirement, but also allowing you to start on your college transcript. We offer dual credit through Vincennes University, and students to be eligible to take these courses need to have a 3.0 GPA. They need to have good attendance, which for online means that you're not truant and you're not on that truancy list. And you need to have your counselor recommendation, which means you need to let your counselor know you want to take those dual credit courses. Next year, if sophomores want to take dual credit, they would need to take the AccuPlacer test to show that they are ready to take a college level course. They will be able to come into our office and take that with us at Achieve. or we should have an online option that's available that we may be able to proctor those online. These classes are run through Vincennes learning program. So they are all online still, but they're through a program called Blackboard. So you would have some classes that are in Blackboard, some classes that are in Canvas, and you would need to make sure you're comfortable going to 2 different learning systems to complete your classes. The other thing with these courses is they are taught by Vincennes University professors. So you are in a class that's online, you are doing the same curriculum as a college level student. So you need to meet their pacing guide and you need to make sure you're not falling behind in the class because this is going to go on a college transcript and a lot of these professors do not take late work. So with Achieve, some students are able to stop working, they might miss a week here or there, and then they log in and complete a whole bunch of assignments at one time. If you're taking dual credit, you have to be working and meeting those due dates, or you would not get credit for that assignment. And then what is the Indiana College Core Diploma? The Indiana College Core Diploma is 30 college credit hours, which is about 10 classes that you would take. Of those 10 classes, you have to have one in each area. So you would need written communication, speaking and listening, quantitative reasoning, scientific ways of knowing, social and behavioral, and humanistic ways of knowing. So in those 10 classes, you need to have one in each of those 6, and then the additional 4 you can double up in different areas that you enjoy more. The Indiana College Core is something that the state has put together that says if you've earned these 30 credit hours, you can go online and go to transferin.net and put these classes into that system, and it's going to show you all the colleges in Indiana that those classes would transfer to. So if you're taking our Psych 142 through Vincennes, you can put that class into this website and it's going to tell you what it's counted at Ball State, Purdue, ISU, Marian University. So the great thing about the Indiana College Core, not only does it meet some of those seals, it also lets students work ahead and go into college with 30 credit hours done because most of these classes the state has put together specifically so that they would transfer to the majority of the colleges in Indiana. And then let's look at work-based learning. I know I've said this several times already, but the specifics about work-based learning and how the hours are submitted, it's still being determined by the state. As soon as we know more, we will definitely send this information out to parents. But what we know right now is work-based learning hours can be paid or unpaid experiences. These hours are accumulated over their entire high school career, and they can be obtained in multiple ways. The multiple ways, however, has to have a minimum of 25-hour increments. So that means if you're working a part-time job and your second semester freshman year, you gained 50 hours of a part-time job. Great, those 50 hours go in, you've met 50 hours of work-based learning. If you have 25 hours volunteering, that can also be work-based learning, but it needs to be in 25-hour chunks. So what I am doing for my daughter is because right now there's no way to turn these hours into anyone. I have her keeping a spreadsheet and she's keeping the dates and hours of the activities that she's doing. So once we know how to turn these in, she'll have a record of what she's done freshman year. So for example, if a student volunteers at a food bank and they do it twice a week on Saturday mornings for 3 hours, they would just keep their 3 hours every date they've gone until they hit 25 hours. They put that in a chunk. They would put on their spreadsheet 25 hours, food pantry, and then you'd list the days next to it just to have a record of it. The other thing, my daughter currently has her own business and does markets. So she's keeping track of her setup, teardown, and her hours working at these markets. That is going to count towards her 25 hours of work experience. So it doesn't have to be necessarily through a job, but it can be. If a student has a job, have them keep track of their pay stubs and hours. As soon as we know how this is officially tracked, we will let our families know, but you're going to want to keep a log and have your student keep a log so that they are keeping track of everything. because it's going to be very hard when you're sitting there as a senior to think back on all the things you did freshman year. So start a running tally now and keep track of it throughout graduation. And then we've talked a lot about the Honors and Honors Plus seal. It is asking if a student can graduate without one of these seals. And the answer is yes. So students who are sophomores or higher that are graduating on the Core 40, they are graduating on the Core 40 with graduation pathways. If a student does not graduate with the Honor or Honors Plus seal, they would graduate with the Diploma 42 graduation pathways. And one of those attachments we sent out with the parent square is going to show the Achieve pathways available for students who are in 9th grade or middle school. So what a pathway means is it means you meet the credits. So you're going to meet those 42 credits. You're going to demonstrate employability skills and post-secondary readiness skills. The employability skills are going to be participating in a club or sport, having a job, volunteering. It's going to be pretty easy to get those employability skills and for us to document that. The post-secondary readiness is going to be met by one of the following. You only have to do one of these. You could take a combination of AP and dual credit courses and have a C or higher average on those courses. You could have certain test scores on the SAT, ACT, or ASVAB. You could go to Area 31 and get an industry recognized credential through Area 31, or you can complete a career technical sequence or locally created pathway. We are working on expanding our pathway and locally created pathway options. They are on that list so you can see them, but the main two we have right now, one of them is called Evolution to Employability. It's a 5-course sequence. 3 of those courses are already required in those 42 credits that a student has. And if a student has a part-time job, they would take a career internship exploration course and they would turn in their pay stubs to get the Evolution to Employability. The other pathway we have is called Social and Community Services. This is looking at careers in human services. It does require volunteering. So one of the semesters when you take Principles of Human Services 2, you need to get 4 hours of volunteer work in the semester that you take that course. We're looking at adding hopefully a business pathway in and a couple additional pathways, but right now we have for sure the Evolution to Employability and the Social and Community Services pathways available. And then let's look at, we are getting close to the end, I promise. We've only got a couple more slides. I know it's a lot of information. We're looking at the testing requirements students are going to have while they are in high school. The first one that's coming up freshman year is going to be the Biology iLearn. This is going to be the year that you finish Biology 1-2. The state requires all students to take the Biology iLearn test, and it's going to be given at our location in Indianapolis. Students don't need to stress. It's not required to pass, but we are required to offer it to all students who are in Biology 1-2. And that information will be coming out to the freshmen right after we get back from spring break so that students know their testing day, and it'll be at our location at Wayne Prep in Indianapolis. Another test that's going to be available to students is the PSAT test. This is going to be for sophomores and juniors. And if a student wants to take the SAT, it's going to be the best practice they have for the SAT. It is optional, and it's going to be in October of their sophomore or junior year. They can take it both years if they would like. And you would look for signups at the beginning of the year in the parent squares. It's going to have a link to register for that PSAT. The SAT is typically offered the junior year in the spring semester. Right now, the state is covering the cost for all juniors to take the test in spring. I'm assuming that's still going to be the case when our freshmen are juniors. If it changes, we'll let you know. But the state covers the cost of that test for students to come in and test during the school day at our location in Indianapolis. And then finally, there's AP testing. AP testing is that advanced placement testing that students would take if they are working for the AP Scholar with Distinction or if they're working for the Honors or Honors Plus seal. If a student takes an AP class, they are required to take that AP test that goes with it in May. One of the things to know for AP tests, That test is given by College Board. You would come into our location, take the test given by College Board. That score does not get released to students until July. So your AP test score does not figure into your grade for the AP class. That is still the work you do in Canvas and your final exam for that class. The AP test is a separate piece, but you have to do both. You have to pass the class and take the test for that AP credit to count towards your honors or honors plus seal. And then finally, what's next? So again, class of 2029 is the first graduating class with this diploma. Information is still being released. January 16th, we got one of our releases from the state with course information. They have updated it every couple weeks since that initial information came out. As we get information, we will be sharing it with families. And it's very important that families monitor Parent Square. Make sure that you know your Parent Square information so you can log in and see those emails as we send them. Because we are a virtual school, a lot of our information is shared via Parent Square. And then we know this is a lot of information. It is a lot of information to track. Mr. Woosley and I are going to make sure that we meet with all of our students and we help them make the best plan for themselves. So we are going to be starting to set up meetings where you can meet with us either in person, by phone, email, or a Google Meet. And we are going to look at the diploma seals. We're going to look at scheduling for sophomore year, and then we're going to lay out the rest of your classes for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade so you can see what is going to be there for you to do to meet your diploma requirements. Your plans might change, and that's okay. It's just that we want to know where you're at now so we can make sure the classes you're taking align with what your future goals are. If they change, no problem. We'll adjust as needed, but we want to have that layout there. The other thing with this is some students might not be sure if they're going to stay with us at Achieve or if they might go back to traditional. They might not be sure. Totally fine. We'll still lay out that 4-year plan so that you know when you're transferring the courses that you should be taking to stay on track. Whether you're online or in person, the roadmap kind of stays the same, so you know looking at it that you can get everything in no matter what school you're at to graduate with the seal that you would like. The state does require students to tell us what seal they're working for as a 9th grader. So during that meeting, you will let us know what you are trying to work for. And you can go for multiple seals if you would like. But just know we have to report that info to the state. And then if it changes, great, no problem. We'll make those changes as we go. And then just make sure you're monitoring Parent Square and that you are checking that parent Canvas access so that you can stay on top of grades and help your students with that. But we will be sending out information shortly so that we can get those meetings scheduled. I am going to go ahead and stop the recording so that if we have questions, we can answer those. As soon as I figure out how to hit stop. Oh, there it goes.